Tag Heuer have just surprised everyone and come out with a vintage remake of the original F1. And I really like it, but also I really don't like how they're doing it. So let's talk about it. But first of all, I'm not a watch expert. I'm just a nerd about watches. If you have any comments or anything, pop down below, type out your comments, leave them there. And whilst you're down there, why not subscribe, like, ding that bell icon so you never miss another video, and why not click that join button, because we'd really appreciate it if you did, but no pressure. It's been said already on this subject, but watch people are very, we like nostalgia, we like history. If we didn't like history, then watch brands wouldn't tell us about their history. So Tag they've been doing really well recently, and they've looked at Omega with the moon swatch, with the 50 fathoms, tie in with Blancpain, with swatch and everything. Obviously the 50 fathoms isn't Omega, but we'll ignore I said that. And they've gone, we want a piece of this market. And then they went, but we don't want a massive piece, so we're going to make it limited. Back when Tag and Heuer combined into one company, they created a new line, the F1. So the F1 line was originally launched in 1986, and it was the very first line that had the Tag Heuer branding, which is really cool. So they've taken that original F1 that loads of people really love, and they've been asking for it to be revived. Let's make that clear. This watch has come from a place of real passion in the watch community. They've been asking for it, and they've come out with 10 new interesting color combinations and variations. So these watches are both a one-for-one recreation, and they're also not. So first of all, they've stuck with the original size, which is interestingly 35mm. Now that's obviously quite small nowadays for a man's watch. Women's watches are often sized at 36 to 37mm, so this is, for all intents and purposes, a very small man's watch by today's standards, of course. There have been some upgrades on the watch that they made decades ago as well. For example, they're using more premium materials. The rubber in the straps is much more premium. The plastic material that they're using for the bezels and such is, again, a lot more premium. You also get sapphire glass on these watches, so that's a very big step up compared to something like the Moon Swatch or the Diver 50. Now, I'm going to pick up the laptop for this part because this is where it starts to get slightly tricky. So there's 10 variations, and they're broken down into 3 categories. References exclusive to Tag Heuer, references representative of locations with Kith stores, and I'll get into what Kith is in a minute, and a single reference shared by both brands. So the Tag Heuer models are the 2 watches with DLC coated steel cases in green and blue. Then there are the models exclusive to Kith. Black with gradient numerals in the bezel represents New York. The full red is Tokyo, the creamy white is Miami, the yellow is for Tokyo, the lovingly wacky and multicolored variant is for Hawaii, the green bezel is Paris, the blue bezel is in steel is LA, and yeah, that's confusing. 10 models in all. I quite like the black bezel with red text, steel on steel. Now, I mentioned these watches were both one-to-one recreations, and they weren't. And Tag's changed their branding. It doesn't say Tag Heuer on the dials. It doesn't say Tag Heuer on the back of the watch. In fact, it doesn't say Tag on these watches at all. It says Kith Heuer.
Is it really?
It does, yeah.
I didn't even notice that when I was looking at them earlier.
Yeah, so it says Kith Heuer on these watches. What is Kith? Never heard of Kith before yesterday, and looking into these watches, and apparently Kith is a New York clothing brand.
Oh dear.
So a lot of these watches are going to be quite limited in the amount that they make as well. This is where the issues with this watch start to come in. It's like if when Tudor made the 54, which is a pretty faithful recreation of the 1954 Tudor sub, they went, right, we're going to throw in a Carhartt. We're going to make it the Carhartt Tudor sub, and we're going to only make 2,000 of them. I find this tie-in quite inexplicable. I don't know why it's been chosen, why that brand in particular. I haven't seen any real explanation for that. Obviously it's a fashion tie-in. TAG have sort of explained it by saying TAG stands for Techniques d'Avant-Garde. So they want to be avant-garde with this design by tying it in with a fashion brand. I think that's a bit of a stretch. To show how avant-garde it is to be TAG, they've removed the TAG branding. And this brings me to my next big issue with this watch. It's $1,500. As I mentioned, they've upped the materials, they've upped all of that, but it's also quartz. It's a quartz $1,500 watch, which again, really annoying for the price that you're paying. Obviously, it is completely, that's more faithful to the original watches. I don't have an issue with it being quartz per se, but for the price, it's problematic. I think it should have been, I think $800-900 would have been a great price for this watch, but then again, it's TAG. They're not going to price themselves sub $1,000, are they? This brings me to one of my last big issues with this watch, is the limited editionness of it and how confusing they've made the rollout. As I mentioned, there's some pieces that are exclusive to Kith, some pieces that are exclusive to TAG Heuer, and some pieces that are, you can get in both, which is really weird. But also, the amount of each that they're making varies. It's not like, oh yeah, we're making 1,000 or 2,000 of each. The Rubber City editions are limited to 250 pieces each, while the Steel City editions are limited to 350 pieces each. The TAG Heuer exclusives in green and blue with black DLC coated steel cases are limited to 825 pieces. The shared model with the black bezel and steel case and steel bracelet, which is definitely one of my favourites. If I was to get this, I'd get it on a steel bracelet, is very plentiful at 1,350 pieces. So it's mind-boggling. It really is mind-boggling where they chose those numbers, how they've worked this out, which again is sort of why I've said they've taken inspiration from Omega and Swatch and Blancpain, but then they obviously have no interest in recreating the commercial success of those pieces because they've massively limited the project commercially. It's really odd. It's really strange. People have been asking for this for ages. I like the watch. I think it looks great. I would wear one. It's very much my style. It's very, very neo-vintage in that style. I love that time period as well. I think it's such a cool looking tag. So I love the fact that they've done this on principle. I just don't like the way that they've done it at all. And that's not to gatekeep. I don't like the branding on it. I think it should say TAG Heuer because it's a TAG Heuer. It was the first watch to ever say TAG Heuer, and not putting TAG Heuer on a recreation of the first watch to ever say TAG Heuer on it is such a missed opportunity. Because it's not celebrating that fact. They've just replaced it with a random brand called Kith. And as I said, who the hell are Kith? I'd never heard of them before yesterday. In short, I think if you want one of those original F1s, you could get one of those original F1s for far less money that TAG's trying to charge you for these. If you want one of these, amazing. There's a lot I really like about them. I love the designs. I love the upgraded materials. I think that's brilliant with the sapphire and the upgraded steel and rubber and everything. And I think the different color combinations and everything are great. I just think it's too expensive, and the amount of limitedness and the confusingness of it and the branding is really confusing. It's a mixed bag for me. It's a mixed bag. What is good though is it doesn't seem like it will be scrap in 5-10 years. It's likely you'll actually be able to get this serviced and stuff, unlike the Diver 50. It's not going to just be landfill in 5-10 years. So it's got some longevity, which I'd hope for from a watch of this price. What do you think, Terry?
I thought they're quite fun.
Yeah.
Disappointed they're limited. I thought this screams mass marketing.
Yeah, such lost opportunity.
I thought this was basically going to be their Swatch.
But no, they've limited it.
This has so much wide appeal as well.
Yeah, so much like wide appeal. Also, it's very topical at the moment because Mike Tyson's in the news a lot at the moment, and it just sounds like something Mike Tyson would say. I want to kiff you. Let me kiff you.
Yes, send it here.
If you want to pick one of these up, they're going to be available from May 3rd in Tags Miami boutique, with a global launch of on May 6th. So if any of you pick one up, let me know. That would be really cool. But yeah, I think it's a mixed bag. I think they look awesome, but I have huge reservations about it. But what do you guys think? Pop down into the comments below. Let me know. Whilst you're down there, why not like, subscribe, ding that bell icon so you never miss another video. And you could click that join button. And whilst we're talking about that join button, thank you very, very much to our channel members. You two are both amazing people and I love you very, very much. And to everyone else, watch yourselves.